Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com. Now, as we all know, there have been about 30 billion recordings of the canonic Bach violin concertos. There are three of them, two for single violin and one for two violins. And they actually fit on a single disc with plenty of room to spare. And there's always a question of how do you justify yet another recording of these things? Because just about every violinist in the universe does them, and they all do them pretty well. They really do. I mean, I can't think of a recording of the Bach violin concertos that are somehow like wrong. You may prefer period instruments, you may prefer modern instruments, you may have all kinds of technical preferences, but in terms of playing them, they're not technically all that difficult, and you kind of wind them up and let them run. I mean, yes, you can do them too fast or too slow, but I mean, it's so, the performances these days, they all occur within a basic range of idiomatic aptness. And so it's just a question of taste, which one you like better or not, which makes my job really kind of sucky because I love to be able to say, oh, this is fabulous, or oh, this is horrible. But most of them are really pretty good, and some of them really are fabulous. Well, this is a disc that falls into the fabulous category. Yay! But the reason is because of what you get as much as it is how well it's done. I mean, it's a combination, because what you get is two discs containing all of the violin concertos that Bach wrote or may have written. That's the exciting part, because we know for sure that a lot of Bach's keyboard concertos, or a bunch of them, were originally concerti for violins, one or more, or violin and something else, or whatever. There's a certain amount of speculation involved, but if you follow the range of the different keyboard parts as Bach later left them, or the type of writing and whatnot, you can usually speculate pretty accurately what the original instruments must have been. And so that brings us to Mr. James Ehnes, who's just a splendid violinist, marvelous violinist, on Analekta with the National Arts Centre Orchestra of Canada, which is billed here as Canada's National Arts Centre Orchestra, which is fine in English, I expect, but I kind of prefer the Orchestra du Centre National des Arts du Canada, which kind of does it my way. The National Arts Centre Orchestra of Canada. I like that one. I like that better. I'm sorry. The possessive in Canada's seems kind of colloquial to me, which I'm sure is why they did it that way, because everybody likes colloquialism. We don't want classical music to sound like it might not be colloquial. God forbid, right? Anyway, never mind. What we get here are all of the violin concertos that Bach wrote, or we think he wrote. That means some arrangements of other works, but they are really good arrangements, and the music works really well on the violin. Of course, Bach works really well on the kazoo. You can play Bach right side up, upside down, underwater. It doesn't make any difference, because Bach is Bach. Everything sounds totally Bach-like. But the Bachitude in really superb violin playing, which we get here, and really able accompaniment, which we get here, and some beautiful partnerships, which we also get here, and lovely engineering, which we definitely get here, makes for a really, really rewarding twofer. The only issue I have with this, before we talk about the individual concerti that are included, is of course the fact that it's one of these suckers. It's terrible. I mean, this is the most horrible album design that anyone ever came up with. These flappy paper, cheap, cruddy things. And in order to get the first disc out, which it dwells in this middle panel here. The other ones aren't so much a problem. You get a very nice booklet, and with a little note by Mr. Ehnes himself. You have to use my fabulous CD extractor, my patented CD extractor device. Let's see if we can find it. Yes, it's in here for sure. Okay, there it is. No, that's not it. Oh, here we go. There. I mean, these are all CD extraction devices of various types, but the one that's most effective, as you know from my video on the topic, is the fabulous false eyelash placement device thing that you can get very cheaply at any cosmetics counter. I mean, it has these wonderful rubber-tipped applicators which keep you from poking your eye out or scratching your CD, as the case may be. And we open up the flap, and we do this, and we stick this little sucker in here, and look at that. Look at how well that works. Isn't that just amazing? It really is. So that's what you have to do this without tearing the flabby cardboard card thing. It just drives me absolutely up a wall. But, you know, where there's a will, there's a way. So let's see what we have. Well, what we have is tiny, tiny print on a dark background. And we need the other device here. I mean, life is so complicated for classical music lovers, isn't it? Isn't it just unbelievable? Okay, first we have the Concerto in E major, BWV 1042. Okay, that's one of the canonic ones, because the canonic ones are 1041, 1042, and 1043 in the Bach Werkverzeichnis, the catalog of Bach's work. So it starts there. Then we get, let's see, this is the triple concerto. It's known as the triple concerto, the concerto in A minor, which is BWV 1044 for flute, violin, and harpsichord. And let's see, do they tell us who the other people are here? Well, yes. Do they? Yes, they do. There they are. Yes, because they're very, very good. The flutist is Joanna, what's this name? Oh, it's a G apostrophe. That's not helpful, is it? Joanna Gefrorer. All right, Gefrorer. Yes, G apostrophe F-R-O-E-R-E-R. Well, there's something I'll be happy to pronounce. Joanna Gefrorer. And the harpsichordist is Luc Beauséjour, who we all know. He's a fabulous period instrument guy and keyboard player. And the nice thing about this, by the way, is that he plays a lovely toned harpsichord. Everything about these performances is tonally gratifying. Yes, they're on modern instruments. I prefer that usually because you can get some semblance of warmth. And anyone who says that, well, period instruments have more transparency or something is just full of crap because you're only dealing with violin and strings or violin and flute and strings. What is there to be transparent about, for heaven's sake? Everybody hears the same stuff. But this is a lovely toned harpsichord. That's particularly important in the finale of the triple concerto, where you have that insane passage after the opening ritornello, which is a fugue thing, right? And then the keyboard player plays mad triplets for like 3 minutes. Oh, God, it's typical Bach. It's just relentless. So it sounds quite tolerable, actually. And then we have the concerto for oboe and violin in C minor, BWV 1060. That's one of the 2 harpsichord concertos, one of the best ones, the C minor concerto, anyway. And we have, let's see, along with James Ehnes, of course, on the violin is Charles Hayman. Yay, Hayman, oboe, or Haman. I can at least do that one. Thank God, simple spellings. I love you. Classical people tend to have strange names. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, you know, but there's some really weird names buzzing around out there. No one's ever named like John Smith anymore. They have to be named, well, never mind, you know. So things like Gefrorer. So there we go. There's that one. And then last but not least on disc 1 is the concerto. I don't even need to do this. We know it by heart. The concerto in D minor, BWV 1052. Yeah, 1052. That's the mean harpsichord concerto. Da da dum bum 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 ba da 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 ba da 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 ba da 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 ba. You know that one. That actually sounds so much more human in its violin version. I like the violin version. The harpsichord version is scary. You may like that one too because it's much more sort of expressionist nightmare music. But in a violin, when it comes in with I don't know. Somehow I think that's so much more natural sounding than this sort of clanky mechanical thing that happens in the keyboard arrangement. But they're both, I mean, it's a great, great, great piece. It's an amazing concerto. Really startlingly dark and minatory. That's the word, like minor key. See, it's the same derivation, minatory. Okay, disc 2, we have the other two canonic violin concertos. We have the concerto in A minor, BWV 1041, which Ehnes plays absolutely gorgeously, and the concerto for two violins, in which Ehnes is joined with Yosuke Kawasaki, violin. Yes, that was easy to pronounce, thank goodness. Then there are two more. There are two more, believe it or not. There is the concerto in G minor, BWV 1056, for three violins, which was originally for three violins, which may have been originally for three harpsichords, or it was originally for three violins, then it was arranged for three harpsichords, and now it's back for three violins. It's very complicated. And last, but certainly not least, let's see, what's this one? Oh, I'm sorry. The concerto for violin in G minor is just one violin, pardon me, with James Ehnes. And then the concerto for three violins, which was the triple concerto for three keyboards, which is one of the clangiest pieces of music in the universe. In its keyboard version. And we have James Ehnes, Jessica Linnebach, yes, and Yosuke Kawasaki, all violining away. There we go. And the National Arts Centre Orchestra of Canada, does it have a conductor? The National Arts Centre Orchestra of Canada. I guess Ehnes is conducting and playing simultaneously, which is actually rather easy to do with these works because they kind of, like I said, they kind of play themselves once you, let me put that away, once you turn them on and wind them up and let them run, and then you just need to have a certain amount of sensitivity to, what's happening around you and the orchestral fabric. But these are beautiful performances, and they are extremely well recorded, and you get everything you could ever want. And it's an excuse to do the Bach violin concertos again that makes musical sense, really serious musical sense. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me, and give this a shot on Analekta. It's really, really hot. Take care.